What's up, guys? Welcome into another episode of the Michigan Recruiting Report. I'm your host, EJ Holland with the Wolverine.com. Before we dive into tonight's show, where we'll be talking about 5 of the highest ranked recruits coming in to Ann Arbor to visit this month, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for free. Get notifications every time we drop new videos. And also subscribe to the Wolverine.com. Use the promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months over at the Wolverine.com. Get everything Michigan recruiting, basketball, and the team as spring practices get rolling. All right, guys. So a lot of recruits will be on campus for those spring practices. We'll be talking about the 5 highest ranked recruits currently scheduled to visit this month, and we will use the On3 industry ranking, which combines the 4 major services. So let's go ahead and start off along the offensive line and talk about Jackson Cantwell, the #1 overall prospect in America. So Cantwell is set to make an unofficial visit to Michigan this month. He was recently on campus in December. Look, Michigan has shown the willingness to invest NIL in the trenches. They did so last cycle with Ty Haywood and with Andrew Babalola, but that doesn't mean Michigan isn't going to spend along the offensive line this cycle. Sharon Moore obviously has the smash mantra going, and he wants to keep bolstering the offensive line, wants to keep adding protection for his investment. The #1 overall player in America from last cycle, 5-star quarterback Bryce Underwood. Jackson Cantwell, 6'7.5", 305 pounds, just a really towering, imposing tackle. When you turn on his film, he's extremely physical. He has a great athletic background with his parents being Olympians. So look, as long as Michigan is willing to invest in NIL with Jackson Cantwell, I think they'll continue to be a really strong contender in this race. So Michigan will not only host him for a spring visit, I think they'll also get him back in for an official visit. And if you were to ask me where Michigan stands right now, I would probably say in the top 3 for Jackson Cantwell. They're really moving in a positive direction there. All right, let's move on to our next recruit and talk about tight end, Ian Premer. Not a guy that we've talked about a ton, especially with the focus being so much on guys like Matt Ludwig and Brock Harris. He's the number 34 overall prospect in the country, the number 4 tight end out of Great Bend, Kansas. Now, Sharon Moore, originally from Kansas, went out to Kansas during the winter contact period and had a chance to see Premer, and that's how conversations really got reignited, and now Premer's set to make a visit this spring. I think Michigan's playing catch-up in this recruitment, but it's obviously a positive to see him coming in for a spring visit. We'll see how that spring visit goes. Michigan obviously has a lot to sell to tight ends in terms of tight end production and how they are used within the offense. Colston Loveland, obviously going into the NFL draft. So again, Ian Premer, definitely a new kind of name. Michigan did offer him a while back, but kind of a newer name since we haven't talked about him a ton. Definitely one worth keeping an eye on this month. Let's go ahead and flip over to the defensive side of the ball, and Michigan is set to host highly touted edge Carter Meadows out of Washington, D.C. Gonzaga. Meadows recently got bumped to a 5-star on On3 in the industry. He's the number 43 prospect overall. Look, Carter Meadows, tall, long edge, unlimited athletic potential. This is a guy who's 6'6.5", 225 pounds, a star for Gonzaga's basketball team, which made a deep run in their state playoffs this winter. He's a guy who hasn't really focused a ton on football. He's always split sports and was even more of a basketball guy early on. So he's just starting to find his stride as a football player. He's 225, which means he has a really lanky frame. He has the ability to add literally, 40 more pounds to his frame. He definitely needs to add more strength in the weight room and add more power to his game. But you're talking about a guy who, when he's a finished product, could be a potential first-round draft pick. There's a lot to like about Carter Meadows. He's very high on the edge board. Michigan's obviously had success at Gonzaga, landing guys like Evan Link and Noah Winston. Gonzaga prospects usually fit that Michigan mold. Carter Meadows certainly does. So the Wolverines trending in a positive direction for Carter Meadows early in the cycle, and this spring visit should definitely help with their efforts. Let's go ahead and stick at the edge position and talk about Trenton Henderson out of Florida. Just named Michigan in his top schools list and set a spring visit. You know, he's not a prospect that we had talked about a lot either, just because, you know, he's seen more like an SEC lean out of Pensacola Catholic. But Michigan defensive line coach Lou Esposito made a stop at his school during the winter contact period, really moved the needle. And look, it just like tight ends with Ian Premer, it's easy to sell edge prospects like Trenton Henderson. You can point to past production. You can point to Wink Martindale's NFL style scheme. You can point to guys like Aiden Hutchinson and others that have gone high in the NFL draft. So I'm really curious to see how the spring visit goes for Trenton Henderson. He's 6'4", 225 pounds. You turn on the tape and he has the look of an elite pass rusher. You know, is he willing to leave SEC country? I think that's the biggest question mark, but Michigan has a lot to sell, and I have a feeling they'll really move the needle on his spring visit. And let's stick at the edge position again. Lou Esposito doing some work, getting some guys in that are highly touted this month. So we'll talk about Jake Kreul, who'll be the last prospect on the list out of Bradenton IMG Academy. Jake's a kid that I've had a chance to see live a couple of times, and man, he's extremely impressive. He's listed at 6'2.5", 220 pounds, so he's not the tallest, longest guy, and normally I put the preference on guys that are built like Carter Meadows. I like the height. I like the length at the edge position. Jake Kreul is so good that I don't care. Like, I've seen him just dominate top competition. I saw him live in the fall against Bergen Catholic. I saw him again later in the fall against Cocoa, and he was dominant both times. He's such a powerful pass rusher. You're talking about a guy who lives in the weight room. That's Jake. He's also very intelligent. He knows how to use just an arsenal of pass rushing moves to his advantage. So I'm really, really high on Jake. He's also a guy that could have NIL as a factor. He has an agent by the name of Cliff Hill, who is actually Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng's agent last cycle. So Michigan has some familiarity there. Jake and his agent will be making a visit to Michigan on March 22nd. So I think that the Wolverines are definitely climbing back into the mix here. They appeared to have lost a little bit of stock in the winter, but I think this spring visit has a chance to really turn it back around. And I really like Jake, man. He just seems like kind of a Michigan kid. And, you know, like I said, big fan of his game as well. So very curious to see how the spring visit goes for Jake Kreul. All right, guys. So for more on Michigan recruiting, make sure to head over to thewolverine.com. Use that promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months over at thewolverine.com. Get even more exclusive recruiting information. And also like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free. Get notifications every time we drop new videos, and we will see you guys next week.